Good evening. I'm Donald Nisbet, retired Navy captain, and thank you for joining us this evening for the National Naval Officers Association Transition Assistance Team Fireside Chat. We have the pleasure of Captain Willie Billingslea joining us tonight. And before I turn the mic over to him, just want to give a brief introduction. Captain Willie Billingslea, call sign Will Bill, is a retired Navy captain whose career spans decades of distinguished service, leadership, and aviation excellence. Captain Billingslea grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and is a proud graduate of the United States Naval Academy. Over the course of his Navy career, he served as a naval flight officer and held multiple command positions, including Commodore, Training Wing 6 in Pensacola, Florida, and the commanding officer of both Auburn and Tuskegee University Naval ROTC units. One of the defining milestones of his career was completing the United States Navy Test Pilot School, where he gained advanced expertise in flight testing, acquisition, and evaluation. He also commanded a multi-agency unit in Afghanistan, where his team earned the Army's Valorous Unit Award for exceptional performance. Over his decades of service, he accumulated more than 3,000 flight hours in over 40 aircraft and completed 7 deployments around the globe. His personal awards include 3 Legions of Merit, a Bronze Star, and numerous other commendations. Today, Captain Billingslea brings that wealth of experience to the classroom as a lecturer in Auburn University School of Aviation, teaching aviation history, safety, and aerodynamics. Outside of the classroom, he continues to fly. He's an avid scuba diver and certified dive master. And when he's not in the air or underwater, he's learning to play the piano. Please join me in welcoming Captain Willie D. Billingsley.
Hey, Biscuit, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone. As you know, my name is Willie BB or Will Bill Billingsley, and I would like to tell you a bit about my journey. One that has taken me from serving as a naval officer to standing here as a lecturer at Auburn University. As Biscuit said, I spent over 30 years in the Navy, eventually retiring as a captain. And over those decades, I learned leadership, teamwork, and that the Navy was the best organization for me to join because I had fun while learning a lot. I got to travel the world. I earned a fantastic living, and I was surrounded by good people. Truly, I have been blessed. During my time in the Navy, I truly loved mentoring. And with that passion for mentoring, along with programs like the Navy TAB and the ruling course, I realized that my passion after retirement is education and helping others. And thus, a spark occurred, steering me towards a journey into adult education. Now, my PhD journey did not start as some grand academic epiphany. There was no lightning bolt, no dramatic music. It began during my last year as a commanding officer of the Auburn Tuskegee NROTC Consortium. I signed up for one night class, just one. Dipping the toe in the water, I thought, hey, let's see what this is all about. Looking back, I wish I had started taking class when I first arrived. I had a 4-year tour, but I did not truly start taking care of my future needs until that last year, and that was a big mistake. I should have started those at the beginning of those last 4 years. But hey, you live and learn, and sometimes you learn late. That one class turned into 2, then 3, then suddenly I was knee deep in research, theory, and more APA formatting rules than any human should be have to memorize. From the first day of that first night class, defending my dissertation about 4 years later, there was 4 years of learning, grinding, laughing, stressing, eating questionable amount of vending machine snacks, and stress. 4 years from going from the big dog in charge to the guy who has to rewrite an entire section of his dissertation because one committee member, oh, by the way, who is about 20 years younger than you, thought it could be better. That was definitely humbling and yet necessary. I had made the right choice. Furthermore, here's the twist. I found out I genuinely enjoyed research. I am one of those rare folks who like digging through data and academic articles. So, if you ever consider a PhD and the time it works, I highly recommend you doing it and you do it in residence. Being on campus, in the mix, around people who are also sleep deprived and questioning life choices and working a second job while they're doing it, there's nothing like it. It truly builds character. Now, for my time at Auburn as a civilian, this transition started quietly. I began as a part-time adjunct instructor teaching just one course, then two. Then the next thing I knew, I was teaching a full load of 4 courses as a lecturer. As Biscuit said, aviation history, commercial aviation safety, and the aviation propulsion and aerodynamics. Those are my primary courses. And then on occasion, when I have to fill in and just pick up something. Now I'm here full time. And financially, let me be honest. Between Auburn and my '06 retirement, I'm doing just fine. I'm not going to buy a yacht, and there's just no way for that. But I might buy a very old airplane, though. But I'm not eating ramen noodles either. Now, let's talk about my classroom. My students will tell you that stepping into my class is, well, if you know me, it's an experience. We start every session with a roll call set to '80s background music. Every session. I consider this a cultural service. Some students immediately start bobbing their heads, others pretend to cringe, but I know deep down they are being spiritually nourished by the power of the beat. From rap to rock to Prince, and he has a category of his own right, and even classical. They get it all. Then there are the movie quotes and references. I quote movies all the time. Movies none of them heard of. When I drop a line from Dr. Strangelove, Platoon, Aliens, Trading Places, and even Blazing Saddles, yeah, but I have to censor that. I get blank stares like I'm quoting Shakespeare in a language no one's decoded yet. But that does not stop me. Oh no, I double down. I am a man. A man must be faithful to his craft. And because I'm a massive Godzilla fan, and I do teach aerodynamics, I even have to pull up the clip of Godzilla flying. Because, hey, it works for me. But you know what? It's wild enough, it keeps them from falling asleep. And of course, the sea stories. I have 31 years of them, and I try not to embellish them, but as I get older, the embellishment comes more and more. Outside the classroom, I have kept myself busy as well. I decided to take piano lessons, which has been a humbling reminder that being a beginner is good for the soul. I renewed my passion for general aviation, and I fly about 100 hours a year, which is my happy place. And because I just could not resist, I became a master diver and dive master with SSI. For those of you who are transitioning soon, I will tell you that my hobbies were important to my mental health. We have a good tribe in the Navy. I've had a good tribe in the Navy, but getting out can be lonely. I have found comparable tribes that I was used to seeing in general aviation and scuba diving. A tight group of people who look after you. So please consider taking up a good hobby for your mental well-being if you have not already done so. All of that, flying, diving, piano, finding new tribes, reminded me of something important. People thrive when they are supported and guided. And that realization led me to a much bigger concern I have seen up close. Our young people are not getting the early guidance they deserve. Research shows that Black students are severely underrepresented in STEM as early as middle school, which affects long-term competitiveness. Although Black Americans make up 12% of the U.S. population, they only represent 3% of STEM and sometimes even less than that at some of the top-tier universities. That's a workforce gap that can be in it with early academic preparation. So this is my public service announcement for tonight. helping young people get on the right track early. After serving as the chair of the Auburn School of Aviation Selection Board and reviewing well over 1,000 applicant records, one thing became painfully clear. We have to do more to prepare our youth. The competition out there, oh, they have a plan. They have a roadmap. They got their kids lined up with tutors, STEM camps, advanced math tracks, pilot programs, you name it. And meanwhile, in many of our communities, things are a bit more haphazardly done. Not because families don't care, but because they do not have the roadmap. They don't know. I have become convinced that if we want a child to be a top contender in a highly competitive field like aviation, engineering, tech, they need to be on the track by the fifth grade. That is the magical pivot point. Fifth grade math prepares the students for eighth grade readiness. Eighth grade readiness determines the eligibility for high school advanced courses. The rigor of your upper level school courses will make or break you or your collegiate application for the top tier schools and will either set you up for success or failure in your college weed out classes. It is a ladder, and kids will climb it faster when we give them the right start. As we think about guiding our young people, lifting them early, giving them a roadmap, and helping them dream boldly, I am reminded of the words of Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays. After all, it is Black History Month. He said, "The tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. It isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity not to dream. It is not a disaster to be unable to capture your ideal, but it is a disaster to have no ideal to capture. It is not a disgrace not to reach the stars, but it is a disgrace to have no stars to reach for. Not failure, but low aim is a sin." And that right there is why we do this work. If we help our young people aim higher earlier, they won't just reach for the stars. They learn to pilot their way with a roadmap that will take them far beyond them. So that is my story, how I transitioned out of the Navy and what is my passion now. And I'd like to just thank you for the time you spent listening to me.
Awesome. Thank you, Willie. So what I want to do is kind of open up the floor to any questions that our participants might have. But if you will indulge me, I'd like to start. One of the things you talked about in your transition is you would have started sooner. Um, what were some, I guess, barriers to taking advantage of the opportunity? Because, both of us shared that experience in ROTC, and you're kind of off on your own. And like you said, as the big dog, but a lot of the resources that you would have at an installation are not there.
That is true. I had some mental barriers as well. I As with many folks, especially if you make it to command and blessed with '06 and then command, you're always solving problems and you want to make things better and leave your stamp and you're going full speed ahead. And I had senior mentors tell me uh, many times, multiple senior members, hey, you need to start taking care of yourself and coming up with a plan and when you get out. But I didn't really listen. So my first couple of years in ROTC, I'm going full speed ahead. What can I do? Can I make a difference? Can I get volunteer for this? Can I volunteer for that? And I occupied my time 100% to the Navy and to the mission. And my wife kind of had to go, what are you going to do when you get out? And as I got closer to my time being over, I started thinking, I need to prepare. And another mentor told me, it's like, you play chess, push pawn. What do you do when you have no idea what you want to do? You push pawn. You do something just to check out the water, nothing too drastic. And I'm at a research institution. And also, Auburn at that particular time for military veterans and ROTC, they paid for a significant portion of your graduate school if you decide to work on a graduate degree. So I was like, you know what? Let me just start off with one course. And I liked it. And it just kept going. Uh, Obviously, when I got out the military, that deal wasn't there. But if I would have started when I arrived, I did have the time. I wasted 3 years. And I could have had most of my PhD paid for by Auburn if I would have started right when I arrived.
Awesome. Okay, I appreciate that. So uh, this is we have members of the transition assistance team, and like you said, you had mentors that were kind of providing the necessary guidance. But like you said, you're focused on the mission, um, and you took you didn't take advantage of the time to focus on yourself, certainly to flatten the glide slope out the door. Would you say it worked out, or at some point you had to go all ahead flank to, um, to salvage what you had left?
I um I had to go all ahead flank literally right after I left because you're in a different world. You're no longer the '06, and you have the influence and the power to do a lot of things. Now I'm in the world of academia, and they recognize other things. And if I would have started earlier, I could have been building my reputation so I could transition from an adjunct instructor to a lecturer, and now soon, hopefully, to be tenure track. There's timelines and politics in whatever organization you get into. And the earlier you start, the better off you will be. Um, so, so yes, I would say I had to go all out flank. I did not want to just have a job to make a lot of money because I thought about, hey, why don't you go be a Beltway bandit and stuff? I started realizing my wife was forcing the conversation on me that I want to have a good quality of life while I still can have a quality of life. Um, um, the Navy, especially when I went on my tour to Afghanistan, I got beat up really bad, and there's a lot of things I couldn't do anymore. And I was worried, man, maybe I always wanted to get back in general aviation. Can I pass a physical? And that was challenging because I haven't done it in a while. But I've been blessed and I could get back into it, but I just waited too long. Um, so that would be my biggest advice to a lot of folks. Hey, map out your plan, what you want, and go for it early on. Believe me, you will have the time to do it. And when I look back, when I thought I didn't have the time to do anything else, I did. I was finding work to do to occupy my time when I could have taken, 25 or 30% of my free time and start preparing myself.
Okay. Um, so Michael, Sam, Mike, if you guys have any questions, please chime in. Otherwise, I'll keep firing away.
Sam Dyer here. I only had one question. Did you use the 9/11 GI Bill uh, to help with your schooling?
No, I did not. I purposely saved that for my daughter. Uh, every single penny of that. And to speak on the 9/11 GI Bill, I'm not sure many of you realize that it is day for day for that 36 months. And our 9/11 GI Bill has literally paid for my daughter's undergraduate 4 solid years and a year and a half of grad school because they do a day by day calculation.
Nice. Yeah, and then I know based on your disability rating, that op potentially that can open up to Chapter 35 benefits for your children, education benefits. So, okay, so fifth grade, you mentioned that's the start. As an organization, I know we do a STEM program for our annual summit. And do you have any other recommendations or like examples of what you're doing in the Auburn, Alabama area?
Yes, I am. I, the Auburn School of Aviation partner with a charter school, the only aviation high school in Alabama, the Alabama Aviation High School. And I personally do a lot of mentoring and talking to students there. Um, and my biggest cry is it is great that we have STEM days and introductions to say, hey, you can be a pilot or you could be an astronaut or you could do this ABC. But the word is not getting to our parents to guide their kids at a young age so they can be ready. And so now I'm reaching back as I talk to and I try to grab the parents. It's like, I'm not sure what you want your daughter or son to be. But if you're thinking STEM or engineering, they need to have completed and done well in algebra by the eighth grade, ideally the seventh grade, because their competition, they're finishing it in the sixth and seventh grade. And so therefore they have 3 years of comfort working the other advanced level classes. So when they take the ACT, SAT, it's a breeze for them. And then their resume look far better than a lot of our students. I was mentoring this one young lady who wanted to be an aerospace engineer, really sharp, and knocked it out of the park with the classes that she had available at her school that she thought was getting her college ready. It was getting her college ready, but not to be in the engineering STEM. She was not going to see algebra until the 11th grade. And she wanted to come to Auburn. And this was normal for her school track for kids that they don't want to put on a higher track. And she wanted to come to Auburn and major in aerospace engineering. And I sat down with her and her parents and mapped out you you can get into Auburn, and I think there's a chance you will be able to get into Auburn. But Auburn doesn't care who you are. You're going to take a math placement exam. You could come in with, A, B, and BC calculus, A's and five on that exam. You're still going to take a placement exam when you get to Auburn, and they're going to place you in the class. And you're more than likely, since you have not seen algebra until the 11th grade, you're going to get placed in a remedial course that won't get you to calculus until your junior year. So if you're going to be an aerospace engineer, a lot of those prerequisite courses you can't take until after that. So your 4-year journey at Auburn is really going to be a 7-year journey at Auburn. And mom and dad, do you have the money for that? And it's like, we barely have the money for the 4-year journey. We
Hmm.
can't do a 7-year journey. And no one has ever spoken to her like that. I literally called up the principal and I was like, you're telling the kids that they can do this, this, and this, but at your own school, your kids are not seeing the prerequisite courses. And this is not an Auburn thing. These are all the top tier schools. You and it's if we want to compete, we need to do more than just doing introductions. We need to really scream at the top of our lungs and show parents the roadmap. Because these parents, they were dedicated. It's like, well, what can we do now to kind of get ahead
Catch
of
up.
it? Yeah, and make up. And they would come up with a plan. It was like, if we would have known this, I would have requested A, B, C, D, and E early on. No one has ever spoken to them, and they're glad they were getting that advice. And I see that a lot in our community. Um, it's not that folks are putting up a roadblock. It's just you got to seek out the information and then go for it.
All right. So last question I have is during your transition, you mentioned Rulin. Did you use any other outside organizations, uh, like Wounded Warrior, Hiring Our Heroes, Skill Bridge? I used ACP, Commit. Did you use anything like that to assist you in your transition?
I
Um,
looked at I looked at Skill Bridge twice,
Mhm.
and then uh my bad. I always found other work that was more important than taking care of myself to take advantage of that. And I that well, the biggest thing I think we could do as NNOA, especially if folks that are getting within 4 years of retirement, we mentors need to preach a little bit harder. You can have a thick head like me because my mentors were telling me, and I just didn't listen because I was going, I got to do this for the Admiral, I got to do this for Auburn Tuskegee, and I filled up my time doing all that. It wasn't until my wife kind of slapped me silly, hey, what are we doing? Because you're not going to sit around the house and then try to figure out what you're going to do. You need to have a plan beforehand, and just going to school and taking a course, uh, that's a good placeholder for now, but you need to come up with a plan. And I got lucky because I actually really enjoyed this. And then I got lucky again because I got hired at Auburn. And if you know anything about academia, um, they usually do not like to hire who they produce. They want you to go someplace else. And I was fortunate enough that I had a good reputation, and they took a chance and let me stay at Auburn uh, there. But I do see, and this is for the folks thinking about academia, eventually I would like to get in a bigger leadership role, and more than likely, it's not more than likely, it's almost 100% certainty. If I want a bigger leadership role, I cannot stay at Auburn. I have to go to another institution.
Okay, awesome. Well, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time this evening and sharing your story, your journey. Obviously, still passionate about what you're doing, and you've got that nexus to aviation. Um, So I want to formally invite you to join the transition assistance team. No answer required this evening, but trust me, I will continue to, kind of ping you on the interwebs. But let's see, gentlemen, anything else before we close this out? Because, like I said, I have to get to the airport.
I think Mike
Um,
has his hand up.
yes, I think he was clapping.
Yeah, I
So,
was clapping. Hey, thanks, Willie. Great insights. Thank you.
No worries. What are you thinking about doing after you get out, Mike? Or are you already out?
Yeah, I've been out for a couple of years now, and I kind of went the same direction. I went to University of Southern California and got an EDD in organizational change and leadership.
Excellent.
So, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been fun.
Yeah.
The invitation goes to you too, Mike, because we're trying to re-energize, recognize that the majority of the folks are not going to retire; they're going to separate. And so, I'll give you the final word, but any suggestions, recommendations, your thoughts on that?
Like, are you looking for me?
Oh, Willie.
For those separating, most of my JOs in ROTC, they separated um as well, except for the nukes. The nukes are the nukes. Most most of them separated as well, and they came in with a plan of, hey, this is where I want to go. And they did take advantage of the Auburn Graduate School opportunities, and they left with masters, with jobs for their future. Um, they had good mentors on the outside to tell them exactly what to do, what major to take, and what schools to try to get. They lobbied for them and got them. So what I think NNOA can do for our JLs, and we just need to have maybe some good um, mentors talk to them about their fit reps, and if you have the opportunity to continue in the Navy, and if not, then picking the right jobs you can land into so that you could prepare yourself. If you can get to a school that will help you get a master's, that's great. If not, then some certificates will pay huge dividends as well, especially PMP and those type of things. So you're constantly working. You're not going to sit on your laurels, and you have to make yourself valuable. And so that's the biggest advice that I think we as the older group could tell the younger group, that if you're not valuable, no one is going to reach out to you. You got to make yourself valuable to the team, and you can do it.
Awesome. So again, on behalf of the transition assistance team, I want to thank you for taking the time this evening. I really appreciated kind of listening to your story. Obviously, we have a connection, but these are the opportunities to really kind of get a little deeper, and look forward to kind of hearing more as we continue to cross paths. So
Cool.
thank you all very much. Thank you guys for joining. And the struggle is real. How do we get the word out? Because that's the challenge. We have a bank of individuals with a plethora of experience and willing to share, but we just have to get the audience, right? All right, guys, you gotta have a good evening, and hopefully see y'all at the Veterans Roundup. It's going to be, I believe, March 13th. Should be a Thursday, 1900. And Willie, I'll get you information if you're interested.
I'm in.
March the 12th. March the 12th. So second Thursday of every month, we're doing something. All right. As always, thank you all. Have a good night.
You have a good night
Have a
also.
good evening. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Willie. Good job.
No worries, no worries. And you got all my